Hi, I'm Paul Arthur. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories for today. The Western premiers have wrapped up their summit in Alberta, with talk of separation still causing some irritation. Plus, a group of 90 organizations led by Inclusion Canada have sent the Carney government a letter saying MAID should never be expanded to include mental illness. And Foodie Fest is returning to the downtown for another year. We'll see what's new for 2026.
Your nation. Your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News.
Thanks for joining us. Canada's Western premiers wrapped up their two-day meeting in Kananaskis, Alberta today. And while discussions were held on a variety of issues, including regional trade, infrastructure, and national defense, Alberta separation dominated the final news conference. While the final communique talks about working together, BC's David Eby made his feelings abundantly clear.
I disagree profoundly with Premier Smith's referendum. I think it is a huge mistake. And Premier Smith disagrees with me profoundly about issues related to a pipeline to the North Coast and the North Coast tanker ban. That's okay. We can disagree with each other, and she can still give me a real nice pair of boots, and I can come here and say, what an amazing province you have. We got to find a way to work these things out together at the table, and we have to be at the table to be able to do that, and we will.
Alberta is appealing the court ruling that struck down a petition on separation. The judge ruled the province should have consulted with First Nations. Premier Smith says the judge erred, but Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says the ruling is correct.
It is not up to the petition gatherers to fulfill the duty to consult. It is up to you as the Alberta government to fulfill the duty to consult. And in this case, when there's clearly going to be an impact on well-established existing hunting and fishing rights by putting up an international border, if some would have their way, the judge ruled, and I would agree with the judge's ruling, that that is going to infringe on rights. And so there is a duty to consult.
The premiers all agreed they need to work together to get things done, with Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe adding everyone is not going to get what they want, but at least they're heading in the right direction. Inclusion Canada and dozens of other disability and mental health organizations are calling on Ottawa to call off a planned expansion of access to medical assistance in dying for mental illness. A parliamentary committee of MPs and senators has been studying whether Canada is prepared for a change next March. Close to 90 organizations have penned an open letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney, Health Minister Marjorie Michel, and Justice Minister Sean Fraser. They argue vulnerable people, particularly those with disabilities, are at risk, and the country's mental health care and disability supports are inadequate. In the letter, the organization states those who are dying by track 2 MAID, where natural death is not reasonably foreseeable, compared to those dying by track 1 MAID, where natural death is reasonably foreseeable, are more likely to be women who live in low-income neighborhoods, self-identify as Indigenous, be in long-term care, experience isolation or loneliness, perceive themselves to be a burden on others, face residential instability, and access psychosocial support. These are red flags for marginalization in the context of assisted suicide. The letter asks MPs to make the mental health exclusion for MAID permanent. Monday, in the House of Commons, a majority of MPs voted down a Conservative motion that called on the federal government to protect private property from First Nations land claims. The motion stemmed from a 2025 BC Supreme Court ruling that confirmed the Cowichan tribes hold Aboriginal title over about 300 hectares of land in Richmond, BC. The ruling led to questions about how Aboriginal title and private property rights can coexist.
Industry, businesses, and homeowners are anxious. Communities are divided. Meaningful reconciliation has been set back by division. Leadership means bringing people together. This Prime Minister has failed that test. Will he finally show any leadership and support our Conservative motion to protect property rights, restore confidence, and unite rather than divide the people he's supposed to serve?
Speaker. Well, it's shameful to continue to hear members of the opposition fear-mongering about private property rights. We on this side of the House stand for private property rights. That's right. We stand for reconciliation. We have appealed the case alongside the BC government, the government of the City of Richmond, and other First Nations. And we will continue to be there for private property owners and work for reconciliation. The fear-mongering has to stop.
BC Conservative MP Aaron Gunn said on social media he was shocked that Liberal and NDP MPs voted against the motion. He says property rights are not some kind of optional add-on to our society or to our democracy. They are quite literally the foundation on which Western civilization, capitalism, and our economy are built. He says something has gone profoundly wrong. South Korean submarine manufacturer Hanwha is showing off a floating floor model of one of its largest subs at Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt in BC. The Asian manufacturer is hoping Canada will buy 12 just like it. The crew of the diesel-electric submarine received an official welcome Monday after arriving on Saturday ahead of exercises with the Canadian and other navies.
Canada has asked for a very significant economic package to go with these submarines, which we think we have met the mark on that one. We've hit some very good industrial capabilities that we're going to deliver to Canada. And they've also asked for speed of delivery. If you listen to the Admiral the other day, somebody asked him when he wanted the submarines. He said yesterday. He always says, I want the boat that can get here the quickest, and that's these. We can deliver the first one by 2032 and 4 of them by 2035. So when you put it in that respect, saying those are the two major requirements for Canada, we feel very good about our chances.
We had the privilege of 2 of our sailors sailing on board Republic of Korean submarine from Hawaii to Victoria, and we will have 6 more sailing from Victoria back to Hawaii in about a week. And it is an incredible opportunity for our sailors to learn and also to share their knowledge of life under the sea.
Hanwha Ocean is one of 2 bidders for a multi-billion-dollar contract to supply Canada's new submarine fleet. 4 people are dead, including 2 children, following a fatal crash between a high-speed train and a school bus this morning in Belgium. The crash happened in a town about 30 kilometers northwest of Brussels. Authorities say the train was traveling at roughly 120 kilometers per hour when the collision occurred.
Er is deze ochtend inderdaad een zeer zwaar verkeersongeval gebeurd, waarbij een schoolbusje werd gegrepen door een trein en een overweg. En deze tol is bijzonder zwaar. Daarbij zijn 4 dodelijke slachtoffers gevallen. Hieronder zijn de 49-jarige bestuurder van het busje, de 27-jarige geleidster en ook 2 kinderen van 15 jaar en van 12 jaar. Het parket heeft een onderzoek geopend naar de omstandigheden van het ongeval.
Reports from local media suggest that the barriers at the level rail crossing were closed, but the bus appeared to try to cross anyway. The cause of the crash hasn't been confirmed, and investigators are questioning witnesses and checking security camera footage. In local news, the city's wastewater treatment plant will officially receive new upgrades and much-needed expansion after City Council voted in favor of approving a 4-year renovation project for the plant. The plant has been facing strain with capacity and aging infrastructure, and it was recommended to fix critical needs to reduce the risk of a major failure. The project is expected to cost $285 million and will be the largest infrastructure project in the city's history. The plant, last upgraded over 40 years ago, will get a capacity increase of 50%.
Our plans are to start the project immediately, so we are moving forward. We already have some of the work completed to date in terms of preliminary design, and we are going to start doing the detailed design in as soon as June of this year, with the goal to have the project moving forward early next year and with a completion date of fall of 2030. The way we're planning to do the upgrade is to build what we call Train 2. So a Train 2 is basically doing a line of process that will run parallel to the existing plant. So the existing plant will continue to work as it is today. And then we're building new equipment and new capacity. Once that is completed, then we do the tie-in and we'll add the additional 20 MLD. So there will be no service disruption for the industrial sector, the residential, or the region. So the plan is to do everything in parallel.
Residents can expect a steady wastewater utility rate increase of 18% between January 1st of 2027 and 2030. However, the city expects that no conservation efforts will be needed during the construction process. City crews have started to work on milling and paving city streets and are telling residents to watch out for road closures across local, collector, and arterial roads. Crews will complete their work into 3 steps of pruning trees and clearing loose debris, removing an existing asphalt, then applying new asphalt to an entire stretch of road. The city is adding stretches of major arterial roads this summer, including parts of 43rd Street North, 5th Avenue North, 28th Street North, and Stafford Drive. Residents impacted by any work will be notified before work begins and are asked to follow posted signage and drive with caution. Residents can stay up to date on road closures at the city's website. A local volleyball club is hosting a 3-day Girls Under 16 Volleyball Festival this week. The event is being called CLAW, which stands for Courageous Leaders, Ambitious Women. 24 teams from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, and Newfoundland will be competing throughout Lethbridge. Although the Panthers are addressing the event as a festival rather than a competition, head coach Ian Bennett says that his players are ready to compete.
We're being honest that this is a festival. We are celebrating volleyball. We're celebrating females playing volleyball. But we step on the court, teams want to win. There's no doubt about that. These teams have worked really hard. We have some very competitive teams, clubs that are very kind of have a competitive mindset. So we're certainly friends on and off the court, but we are trying to beat each other.
My team has had a really good season so far, and I hope that we can just end it on a high note and just have fun and become friends with all the other teams.
The festival will run from May 29th to 31st, with the opening ceremony taking place this Thursday at Lethbridge Polytechnic. A free summer event series kicked off Tuesday afternoon at Lethbridge's Festival Square. BCN's Naveen Day has more details on Foodie Fest, which celebrates the downtown's vibrant food scene.
Now in its 5th year, Foodie Fest has become one of downtown Lethbridge's most anticipated summer events, bringing together food trucks, live music, local businesses, and the community for a full day of food in the heart of our city. And who doesn't enjoy good food, right? Here in Festival Square, it's filled with food trucks, as well as they are lined up along the southwest corner of Galt Gardens. And participating downtown businesses will be staying open late, offering free samples, giving attendees the opportunity to explore and support a wide variety of local shops, restaurants, and services. Emily Chong with the Downtown Lethbridge BRZ, the organization behind this event, explains the story behind Foodie Fest.
We were kind of looking for a way to incorporate food trucks into downtown without taking away from our downtown food businesses. So this was an awesome way to mesh food trucks, and our downtown businesses now offer free samples. So there's over 25 participating restaurants so you can explore, as well as open late shopping.
One of the vendors is a downtown success story, art and craft pizza. Anthony Vink started making pizza in his own backyard and then selling it on Instagram. His popularity grew him into a food truck, and now he also operates a bricks and mortar location in the downtown.
We like to say we're Lethbridge's second best pizza because everybody already has a favorite. And so I'm not trying to be your favorite. I'm trying to give you something different that's not usual. The sign on our door says intentionally different. We do New York style, so it's cooked right on the stone, crispy pizza, which is not what Lethbridge is known for.
What's your most popular dish, and what does it consist of?
Well, in the industry, we always say that pepperoni pays the rent. But my favorite is the upside down margarita. And so we build it upside down so the basil goes under the cheese, so it gets more flavor by warming up in the oven, but then it's protected by having the cheese over top of it. And then we dollop our sauce on top after, because you taste the natural sweetness of those tomatoes more by being on top than by being under.
I couldn't resist giving it a taste and sharing my thoughts with you.
It's chewy, but it's also very light to eat. The sauce is amazing. They leave the skin on the tomatoes, and that just adds some extra texture to it. Definitely something worth coming back for.
Foodie Fest takes place on the last Tuesday of each month through July, specifically on May 26th, June 30th, and July 28th. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
I'm hungry for some reason. Drone technology is pretty amazing. At big celebrations like last year's U.S. 4th of July, drones created spectacular visual effects like this eagle and flag. It's amazing when it goes well, but when it goes wrong, it looks like this. More than 80 drones tumbled out of the sky Monday during the opening of the 3-week Vivid Sydney Festival. Sky Magic, the UK company behind the show, blamed a change in radio frequency for the glitch and said none of the drones fell outside safety boundaries in Darling Harbour, but there are reports of drones crashing close to where people were viewing. Fortunately, no one was injured.
Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com. Manitoba's equipment landscape is keeping its competitive boundaries after all. The planned merger between the province's two largest John Deere dealerships, Green Valley Equipment and Enns Brothers, has officially been called off. Now, GFE President Kerwin Friesen cited considerable roadblocks and delays from the Federal Competition Bureau that ultimately made the 13-store consolidation impractical. While corporate executives always argue that bigger scale means better parts access and tech support, the reality on the ground for farmers is different. Farmers are flat out tired of consolidation at the dealership level. They see fewer options, less leverage on trade-ins, and an erosion of the localized relationship-based service they've relied on for, quite frankly, generations. With the Competition Bureau listing the transaction as completely abandoned, the independent networks remain intact for now. For the prairie producer bracing against a tight margin environment, this regulatory bottleneck isn't a disappointment. It's a welcome sign of relief that keeps local competition alive on the machinery lot. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with RealAgriculture.com.
A senior Bank of Canada official says we need to rethink our approaches to education and training as young people face a difficult labor market marked by low turnover and high long-term unemployment. With more is this report from Michelle Zadikian of the Canadian Press.
Nicholas Vincent, an external deputy governor at the Bank of Canada, says the job market is particularly challenging for young people. Not only are they overrepresented in the ranks of the unemployed, but they also make up almost a quarter of those facing long-term unemployment. He noted that when the economy slows, unemployment tends to rise more sharply among young people, but the magnitude of the rise in youth unemployment suggests other factors are also at work. Vincent pointed to structural factors, including an influx of young immigrants that created more competition for entry-level jobs, a mismatch of young workers' skills and employers' needs, and the growth of AI as possible reasons for the situation. He says we need to ask how we can better prepare young people for the new realities of the job market, make it easier for those who lose their jobs to reskill quickly, and ask what role should educational institutions play.
A report from Equifax Canada says insolvency volumes have risen to the highest level since 2009 as homeowners come under escalating financial strain. The firm's first quarter report on consumer credit trends says systemic risks persist even as Canadians remain financially disciplined to cope with economic challenges. Insolvency volumes for the quarter were up nearly 19% year over year. Homeowner insolvency volumes rose more than 11% from the fourth quarter of last year. And now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was down 177 to 34,653. The Dow was down 118 to 50,461. The S&P 500 was up 45 to 7,519, and the Nasdaq was up 312 to 26,656. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 301 to 93.58 US per barrel. Natural gas was down a cent to 2.88 US. Gold was down 62.08 to 45.0724 US an ounce, and silver was down 112 to 76.95 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.79 per bushel. Barley is at $7.03. Canola is at $16.97, and corn is at $7.75 per bushel. Live cattle June contract was down 107 to 248.22. Feeder cattle August contract was down 40 cents to 349.45. Lean hogs June contract was up 37 cents to 96.12, and the Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 72.40 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, Canada's Western premiers wrapped up their two-day meeting in Kananaskis, Alberta today. And while discussions were held on a variety of issues, including regional trade, infrastructure, and national defence, Alberta separation dominated the final news conference, with BC's David Eby making no bones about his opposition to Alberta going forward with the separation question. The Federal Conservative Party put forward a motion in the House of Commons Monday which called for the federal government to protect private property from First Nations land claims. However, the Liberals, along with the NDP and the Bloc, voted against it. Question is, why? Political commentator Brian Lilly weighs in on this and more, and that interview is straight ahead. When you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content as well as our poll questions.